Welcome back to the panel's choice. Here we ask each panel member to pick a topic from this week that they feel is important to discuss, and we will start with Donna's pick. While the supply chain crisis, COVID regulations, and inflation are grabbing headlines, Joe Biden's policies regarding energy and sneakily affecting every room in your house. Donna, what's happening here?
Basically, this administration has actually weaponized the Department of Energy against the American consumer. What they're doing is trying to regulate every room in your house in order to promote their Green New Deal initiative. So they're actually taking away consumer choices. We have now new regulations on shower heads, on dishwashers, washing machines and dryers, furnaces, air conditioning, and they're even targeting light bulbs. Now, they're going to make these extinct, so you won't even have that choice.
This is really frustrating to see policies like this put in place, and I like the way you described it as them weaponizing their program against the American people, government regulations against the American people, because we saw them do that with the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. They're taking government and using it against people, all the way down to what type of light bulb and how long you can take a shower, how much water your shower head can spit out.
Yeah, they're saying that this is supposed to be saving energy, helping climate change, but really it's increasing the cost of every product the American people use. Now, we're already suffering from high inflation. We have double digits in basic necessities, but now they don't think that you have the right to choose what products you want to use. So they're going to actually make these rules so those products are no longer being produced in the marketplace.
And they push the science. They say, oh, our COVID policies are based on science. The masks are based on science, even though most Americans at this point don't actually believe it's based on science. This whole Green New Deal and saying climate change and global warming and all of that, that's been going on long enough now that they should have some data to back up their decisions. Is anything they're doing based on science?
Nothing is based on science. And remember this, you should think about this. Every time they've created a government agency, that agency has a goal and it's never gone away. It's only expanded. So, you know, the American worker in these government agencies don't work their ways out of a job. So they want to expand, they want to get promotions, right. So they create more issues in the climate change battle because there's not billions of dollars at stake, there's trillions of dollars at stake. They're blackmailing corporations, they're blackmailing individuals, and they're pushing this agenda so that people are forced into using products they can't afford. You've seen it play out in UK, and it's going to be worse here in the United States.
Thank you very much for the topic. Next up, we've got Chris's pick. His topic points out the political dangers of NATO military leaders breaking from the rigid script of political orthodoxy. Chris, please explain.
There's a great lesson here. The German naval chief, Admiral Schirnbach, is at a conference in India. He thinks he's off the record, and he's in an environment where he's sort of thinking out loud. It's a free-flowing exchange of ideas. And he makes the very dangerous error of committing the truth. He makes comments like, Crimea is lost to the Russians. And of course, it has been since 2014, when the Obama-Biden administration did nothing when Russia took Crimea back. He points out that Ukraine really isn't eligible right now for NATO membership because part of their territory is occupied, the Russians are already there. There are other shortcomings in Ukraine's eligibility, really. He points out that, you know what, a tool short of war would be giving Putin a little bit of a PR boost. In other words, using diplomacy to play Putin off to keep him from invading Ukraine. He points out that China is really the bad guy in the world, and we shouldn't be doing things that drive Russia and China together. Well, for saying these things, he's forced to resign as the chief of the Germany's Navy. And I just want to take that and pause and reflect it back on our own leadership within the Department of Defense. How about General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Here's a guy who, on the record, there's quotes of him essentially giving the communist Chinese the assurance that he would give them a heads up if we took military action against China. making unauthorized phone calls and contacts with China's military chief of staff. What are the consequences for Milley doing these sorts of things? One could say that he even did things that were disloyal with respect to following his commander-in-chief at the time, President Trump. He took a phone call from Nancy Pelosi where she was trying to persuade him not to follow Trump's orders. We're suing to get the transcript of that phone call. Judicial Watch is in court right now to get those records. But let's reflect on how how Germany's Navy chief is dealt with and handled for thinking out loud in an open forum and discussing things that really are kind of matter of fact, and how our own military leadership, Milley's still sitting as chairman of the JCS.
To be fair, both are wrong. Both actions are wrong, right? The way Germany handled theirs. And
yeah, I mean, if the admiral can't, in an open military forum, if the admiral, off the record, if the admiral can't express his personal opinions, then there's a serious problem within the military of Germany.
So very interesting. Thank you so much for the topic. Next up, we've got Dr. Shea's pick. This week, Vice President Kamala Harris was adamant that the U.S. respect the national sovereignty and borders of Ukraine, and that Russia should too. Let's take a look at that video.
We have been clear and consistent for quite some time that we respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, and we expect that Russia would do the same, and any aggressive action taken by Vladimir Putin will be met with severe consequences.
Interesting that they want to respect the sovereignty of Ukraine's borders.
Mm-hmm. The hypocrisy of this makes me so angry, I don't know what to do. I want to know what the severe consequences are for the attack against our U.S. southern border, because it is an attack. We have illegal immigrants and the Mexican cartels. Last year, we have 4 times the number of illegal encounters than we did the last year of President Trump. This is the highest number ever recorded. 2.5 times the amount of fentanyl, almost 2 times the amount of cocaine. So my point here is that we are under an attack. And I explain this constantly because people don't get this. Nobody gets through that border illegally. Nothing comes through that border illegally unless the Mexican cartels authorize it and are paid for it. So we have a criminal enterprise that is being paid billions of dollars to attack the United States.
Why do you think they're getting away with this, or are they getting away with it? Because their hypocrisy is so blatant that I would think the American people can see it at this point.
That's why I'm pointing it out here. But yes, I do think that people see it. We certainly see their ratings down in the toilet right now. And to make matters worse, the number of criminals with prior convictions coming into the United States has increased by 4-fold in an overall way. You break that down and look at the number of murderers that have gotten through illegally, 20 times the number than when President Trump was in office. So my point here is that our borders are under attack, and the Biden administration and the leftist media is trying to put the focus on the sovereignty of Ukraine. Last week, he had 2 hours in a press conference where he barely talked about our border. Now, he mentioned the border 12 times, but 9 of those was about the Ukraine, 3 about us.
That's crazy.
And it's not true. We are under attack right now.
Very interesting topic. Thank you for the comparison. And last but not least, we've got Derek's pick. Senior Democrat officials blasted Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer for his leadership style. They blamed Schumer for turning Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin into scapegoats, which they say ultimately cost the Democrats at passing Biden's Build Back Better legislation. Derek, are they right?
Of course not. Right? And I think
what do you think, Derek?
I think that aide really did a great job in describing what happened with this piece of legislation. They really messed up. And what he did, and Schumer oftentimes say, you know, he's in New York, and everything he does is just done with so much theatrics and just everything. And so after politics, he should go to Broadway because that's where he belongs. But the thing about it is they really messed up on this package. And in doing so, they kind of alienated Manchin and Sinema. And you never know when you're going to need these guys again for another piece of legislation to get passed. And so we look at what Mitch McConnell did, when Kavanaugh was being for the Supreme Court nominee,
Right.
There were a couple of people who turned their back on him, but McConnell supported these senators because he said we never knew when we were going to need these people again. And I think the Democratic Party, with the infighting right now, is much more extreme than we really know about.
Right.
And so we talk about it here, but the alphabet and other media, they don't really allude or let you know just how bad things are right now within the Democratic Party.
To me, this is just my own observation on this. It looks like Democrats recognize that they have gone way too far and the American people do not like their policies and do not like what they're doing. However, in order to maintain their power, it's kind of like gigs up, we have to just go for it. We have to just continue to try to power grab, and that they're going to double down on it. I think turning their back on Sinema and Manchin is an example of that. What do you think?
I do agree with that, and they're so far to the extreme. And then the Build Back Better plan failed. So now we got to go, and what can we do next? So let's bring up the Voting Rights Act, and let's do it right around MLK Day to create more divisiveness and make it sound like the Republican Party is so bad and so against African Americans. And I think even that plan backfired in their face.
Yeah, I think people are starting to see that they're lying. They're just flat out lying on their policies.
Yes, and even that clip that you just played with Kamala Harris talking about the borders and sovereignty.
Exactly.
It's hypocrisy at its finest when our borders are out of control right now.
Thank you very much for the topic. Don't go anywhere. When we come back from the break, we've got Don't Be Fooled and my closing argument. We'll be right back.